So, this is Ditching Michigan Origins long form. So, we all know about the Flint, Michigan situation, and of course, I'm speaking from some speculation. But before getting to that, this problem all started from the switching the water supply in 2014, specifically drinking water from Detroit Water Authority with Flint's own river. Initially, this act was temporary. The cost to lives was due to a mere 5 million in barely 2 years. All of this was claimed to be an accident, most likely. But a river that corrodes car engines, contains lead, outbreaks of diseases that weren't mentioned from 2014 to 2016 should have been a red flag before using the toxic river. But I'm skeptical nobody knew about what was actually going on. So, the Obama administration totally dodged the brown and yellow water by showing how safe it was having Obama drink filtered water. Although Flint passed its 6 year requirement in a row of the Safe Drinking Water Act, despite this, there are residents still that don't trust the water. The citizens of Michigan have plenty of reasons to be worried, and Flint, Michigan was just a small part of the poisoning in the state. This story a part of broader U.S. contamination lore. So, long before the Flint, Michigan crisis, St. Louis, Michigan had a and continues to promote the EPA Superfund cleanup area that has been going on for about 40 plus years. Near the Pine River lies a destroyed chemical plant. A ceremonial bench reads, "We declare our mutual aid that our river and land be restored to their natural conditions, safe for any use." In the 1970s, flame retardant chemicals were being put into lots of materials like plastic for the short term safety of the citizens, with unintended consequences for manufacturing. In 1993, a delivery truck was thought to be made um, and and was meant to be Nutrimaster, aka magnesium oxide, to regulate cattle by making them dehydrated so more milk is produced. But mistakes were made, obviously. The bags were similar besides the color of the label, ending up mixing the agricultural chemicals with the flame retardant, polluting the animals, cows, dogs, and the land became unusable while resorting to killing the livestock. Millions of animals infected, creating aborted and stillborn young. EPA officials will consider it safe enough in 2026, then back to business as usual, I assume. Of course, I have to mention and walk back a little. The Pine River incident did coincide unintentionally with the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision in 1973. This combination of depopulation was an accident, even if we say there is contamination negligence. The paranoid demographers knew abortion was mostly accessed by white women historically. Add the health issues from future generational health issues from the St. Louis disaster. Ultimately, the brain drain should be helped by immigration, a short term solution to stall the economic collapse. Unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. Casting non-citizen suffrage aside, as I'll get to, as the preferred demographic quota declines. Although the focus was specifically the focus was specific when it was said. Ben Wattenberg in the book The Birth Dearth stated, "If there's not enough people, it will mean less mouths. But at the same time, who will do the feeding?" In my opinion, the attack on diversity is the reason for the negligence, but not at first in 1973. The freedom to be childless or not attacked by elites showing their hands in 2020. Time for some speculation. Michigan has been the epicenter of demographic surveillance research. As I mentioned, this pattern is a part of the U.S. Broadly. Michigan origins start in the beginning of the birth dearth. President speechwriter, demographer Ben Wattenberg focus is declining population, white, unfortunately, within the Michigan state. It starts off and used as an example for the whole book, and when Ben went to a high school and asked how many kids they want uh, when they're older, obviously, uh, doing this sort of survey. But nonetheless, not as many hands were raised as national security was looking for. The low white population numbers were compared to black, non white, Hispanic, Asians, and third world populations. Plan to take out Roe, take away gay rights, and war schemes to copy certain Jewish sects of its inner turmoil, taking the model into the US to boost patriotism and secondhand boost fertility. This basic logic um, this logic based on the fact that having higher numbers despite living in fear, hoping it would translate to the US, thus potentially instigating the war on terror after World War II. Peacetime was long overdue to end. So, the Michigan origins, outside of the narratives of the birth earth, start in a similar way from an article from 2011. It centered on the Grand Rapids location. The census data suggests hundreds of thousands of kids under 18 were declining as the baby boom echo effect, age in general, and generations who waited longer to have families stalled the bodies for the economy, creating utility brain drain as a byproduct of outsourcing, causing residents to work outside the city and state, and a labor and reproductive labor strain on work at home. The engineered lack of time also having an effect on wanting children at all, combined with historical mass pollution curbing health through reproductive health. Obviously, this would affect overall health issues, but data by the American Lung Association states Grand Rapids region has the worst air quality in Michigan. Towards the end of the article, the issue it felt most pressing was the low native population dealing with new coming diversity, just as the birth earth was pointing out in the 80s. Obviously, it's a continuation of fear put into the hearts of national security from pundits from Michigan used as an example, the epicenter of youth that didn't give elites what they wanted, and potentially ditching Michigan in the process. So these tie-ins like market abuse, pollution, and privileged white women affording a decent contraception leave racist demographers in a panic ever since the 1973 fertilizer flame retardant mix-up in the same year as Roe. Now, I assume they're aware of this. Less hands raised in the wake. It does intersect with a 9/11 fears of Islamophobia, with Bush saying you're either with us or with the terrorists. Hold on, sorry. And the Israel defense after October 7th, 2023, war between the children of light and darkness, claims Netanyahu against Gaza as a place of 40 plus children, Biden allowing pro Palestinian protesters against the Gazan genocide to be gaveled up. And this ties into state abuse of Michigan, which has a 13% Arab population. Officials from 8 states, hold on. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was on the wrong article, I believe. Um, Officials from 8 states at Dearborn, Michigan saying abandon Biden or ceasefire now. But with old guard Republicans behind Vice President Kamala Harris, Reagan to Bush to Cheney, it's definitely War on Terror Part 2. An article from October 23rd, 2024. Oh, okay, good article. I mean, right article. Was at the time of its writing very neck and neck in Michigan. Originally, 400,000 Arab Americans voted Democrat in 2020. Historically, they have been voting blue since the 90s, but unfortunately, this time around, being a loyal Democrat isn't helping their interests. Of course, they don't want Trump in favor necessarily, but just despite. Osama Sablani, who publishes from an Arab American newspaper located in Dearborn, Michigan, admitted to Arabs possibly voting in spite. Quote, now they're in total disarray. They may vote for Donald Trump just to punish Biden and Harris, just to say, look what you've done. Even as the national uncommitted vote doesn't want Trump, the moment makes it impossible to endorse her. So, so in Michigan, 2 points separate Harris and Trump in Michigan, a new poll shows. So this is actually, unfortunately, a gendered division sort of issue right now. So, Grand Rapids, Michigan, just a day before Election Day, the presidential race in Michigan is too close to call. A new poll released Monday morning shows the survey conducted by Emerson College Polling, The Hill and Wood TV8 found that 50% of Michigan voters said they intended to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, and 48% of former President Donald Trump. Among Michigan voters, men are more likely to support Trump, 55 to 43, and women are more likely to support Harris, 55 to 44. Emerson also surveyed voters in 6 other swing states: Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The race is a tie in Nevada and Wisconsin at the time of this article, at 48 to 48 in Nevada and 49 to 49 in Wisconsin. In Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, Trump has a 1 point lead. In Arizona, Trump has a 2 point edge. All polls are within each survey margin of error, plus or minus 3.4 for Michigan. Quote, as seen in the national and previous polls, gender continues to provide a sharp contrast in voting intention. Spencer Kimball, executive director of Emerson College polling, said in a statement, in states where Harris has an edge, like Michigan and Wisconsin, voters break in near opposite directions, whereas states where Trump has an edge, like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, men break for Trump by larger margins than women break for Harris. Okay. In a race to represent Michigan in the U.S. Senate, U.S. Representative Alyssa Slotkin, a Democrat, is maintaining her lead over former Rep. Mike Rogers, a Republican. Sorry, did I say Republican for Alyssa Slotkin? I meant to say Democrat. Okay, the Emerson poll found 49% said they would vote for Slotkin and 45 for Rogers. Rogers and Slotkin are vying to the seat vacated when U.S. Senator Debbie Stebben, now a Democrat, retires at the end of this term after 24 years. The election outcome will help determine which party controls the upper chamber. All right. So I think I might be done covering Michigan for a little bit, but this still is important. So, I believe I could just watch this real quick, but I could.
Primary voters voted against Trump in that race. And, in Michigan, it was 250,000. So where do those people go? Are they in early vote or in election day vote? Are they going to actually go back to Trump? Or are they going to vote for Harris, or are they going to stay home? And those are not soft R's. There'll be some independents in there depending upon the rules. But those are Republican primary voters who said, with no opponent, everyone had withdrawn at that point in those states. They were voting for Donald Trump anyway, and they voted for Nikki Haley as a placeholder because she's the only one left. I want to see what happens in those states with those voters, because a lot of the assumptions that the Trump campaign is making on the early vote when they see Republicans is, oh, we're going to get 95, 96% of that. But if these numbers are an indication, they may have a lower number, and that will hurt them in those states.
That's a really interesting point from the governor. And Mary Bruce, we were talking about this. Nikki Haley, she did endorse, obviously, Donald Trump. She wrote an op-ed just this week in the Wall Street
And
Journal.
Jill Stein
She wasn't out there on the trail.
actually endorses Trump now,
No Nikki Haley to
which,
be
in
seen,
my
so I'm sure the
opinion,
Harris
is
campaign
mind
was likely
blowing.
glad.
Hold on, I'll look this up now. Okay, so this is weird. I really don't know what Trump's interest in Jill Stein is, because, I mean, he's a third party voting against Trump. Okay. Sorry, guys. A little bit of silence there. Former President Donald Trump has revealed that Green Party presidential nominee Jill Stein may be one of his favorite politicians. Trump, the Republican nominee, lavished unlikely praise on Stein, who is far to the left of him politically, during one of his final campaign rallies of the year in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Monday. The former president mentioned his supposed fondness for Stein, while implausibly claiming that 107,000 supporters attended a recent Trump rally in California, and that an unspecific poll shows him with a large lead among Hispanic voters. Trump then claimed, perhaps jokingly, that Stein's Green Party was also favored by Hispanic over Democratic nominee and Vice President Kamala Harris, who he referred to as this woman. Okay. Quote, I went to California. He had a rally. We had 170,000 people show up, Trump said. I said, there's no way we could lose. And I do well with Hispanics. Polled, a poll just came out. I'm a 56% with Hispanics compared to this woman who is at 36%. I think the Green Party got more than she did, he added. I love the Green Party. Jill Stein just may be one of I've never met her, but she may be one of my favorite politicians. Newsweek reached out for comments to Trump, Harris, and Stein campaigns via email on Monday night. While it was unclear what poll Trump was referring to on Monday, publicly released polling has shown Harris with a clear lead over Trump among Hispanic voters leading up to Election Day, while Stein has barely registered in his poll. Stein has often been accused of being a spoiler candidate who could help Trump get elected by siphoning voters away from Harris. In 2016, Stein was also Green Party nominee and received enough votes in each of the so-called blue wall states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton would have defeated Trump if Stein voters had voted for her instead. Quote, Donald Trump knows that Jill Stein is his key to the White House. That's why he praises her spoiler candidacy and why his MAGA allies are working to prop up her campaign. Democratic National Committee (DNC) senior advisor Adrian Watson said in a statement emailed to Newsweek, quote, the stakes of the election are too high to allow Stein to spoil it, Watson added. The DNC will make sure voters know that a vote for anyone other than Vice President Harris is a vote for Trump. So that's only because Trump is willing to, or she, okay. I see what they mean, but this doesn't seem like Jill Stein is necessarily just for Trump, but I see where this is going. This is weird. Trump also offered praise for independent candidate Cornel West, who was also considered a potential spoiler, calling West one of his favorite candidates during the Pennsylvania rally in June. A poll released last month by Noble Predictive Insights and surprisingly suggested that Stein's candidacy could hurt Trump more than Harris this year, with the Green Party candidate seemingly taking 1% away of support from Trump in a three-way race. Okay. I mean, she's still really irrelevant, even though she's sort of like any person you vote for, sort of like a wasted vote in this sense. I still don't understand this obsession with Jill Stein. I mean, is it just that if you don't vote for Kamala, this rhetoric is being said so many times that if you don't vote for this person, you're obviously up like voting for Trump, and people will just call you, basically a Republican, or it's your fault if Trump becomes president, despite you not voting for Trump or Kamala. It's still your fault for one of them being president, which is, it's silly that we're put in this position, and it's just unreal. People are infighting this way, and this is exactly what they want, and this is why we're in this situation. All right. See you in the next one.